Everyone. Welcome to the Talkin Kop. My name is Ashley, and I am joined by my friend Kev this evening, and we are here to preview the Brighton versus Liverpool game. It is away at the Amex Stadium. It's early on Saturday, so quite early for me. I think it's the 12:45 kickoff for you guys. Yeah, so it's like 7:45 for me, which is not super fun. But Kev, let's chit-chat a little bit before we delve into Brighton as an opponent. Let's chit-chat a little bit more about the Galatasaray game, because it was that good, and we have that few good performances to chat about that I just want to linger in that and bask in that glory for a little bit longer. Have you had any sort of thoughts since the game finished that you didn't air on the post-match show after?
No, I went into work this morning and I work with a lot of Liverpool fans, and there was a spring in the step. Let's put it that way. A lot of people in work this morning, and a lot of smugness towards Man United fans sat at home watching Coronation Street or Emmerdale last night instead of watching European football. It was nice to see, actually, because look, since I've started this, I've been in this new job now for the last few months. And you'd be sat in the canteen and that, and football has always been talked about, and it is like dour. The conversations around Liverpool, it's doom and gloom stuff. And this morning, today, all day, it was like, we could do something here. You never know. And I watched a lot of the content tonight around the game from other creators and what have you. And it was interesting watching the reaction, the watch-along stuff around Salah missing the penalty and the laughs and everything like that. And then when he scored his goal, it was literally like, yeah, that's Salah doing Salah things, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was like...
It's a tale of two halves.
It was a tale of two halves because he wasn't scintillating brilliant in the first half. None of them were. I mean, it was almost a really good performance in the first half.
Yeah, it was like 75%. I feel like Kirkez was fantastic in the first half. Szoboszlai was fantastic in the first half. And in the second half, you kind of had that mantle switch over to a little bit Florian Wirtz, a little bit Mo Salah, and just kind of spread across the team in general.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got the CBS coverage, didn't you? So
yes, I did.
The post-match interview after with Carragher was really interesting. I don't know if you got a chance to watch all of it.
The one with Slot?
Yeah.
I did.
Because that was like 6.5 minutes of an interview. And normally they don't post the whole thing. They just snip it up and post little clips of it. But they posted a lot. What did you make of it? For the people who haven't seen it, it's worth digging out and watching it from start to finish. But what did you make of it? Because there was a couple of lines in there that I thought were really interesting.
Well, tell me the lines that you thought were interesting, and then I'll give you my thoughts on them.
We talked about it last night. That was the first time that 11 started a game together.
Yeah.
Which is crazy when you think about that starting 11 last night. The only mainstay that was really missing in that lineup last night was probably Cody Gakpo. The rest of the
well, you'd say Isak maybe.
But he's never
in
really
your best 11.
I don't think he
on
would
paper.
have been.
Well, on paper, I don't know.
Well, the thing is, he's never really been a mainstay of this squad this season. So, I mean, they've tried it with him, but Cody Gakpo has probably been the mainstay of the squad selection so far this season. So you take him out, and I remember saying it to you about the Palace lineup. That was close because you had Isak in there and you had Conor Bradley in there. So you replace Conor Bradley with Frimpong, and you replace Florian Wirtz with Cody Gakpo. And that's pretty much the nuts and bolts of that 11. So that's probably the first time he's been able to start with that 11. And you kind of got a view, and Chris was mad about it last night, talking about how high the fullbacks were. Gav and Matt were talking about it as well after.
Yeah, I heard them talking.
Getting the width from the fullbacks is what we've been talking about all season. You and Chris have been mentioning about playing this like 3 narrow midfielders, 2 up front with 1 behind. It was almost a hybrid of all of that last night. And the key takeaway for me from that is is this where we're going in the future with, say, Hugo and Isak as a front two, with Florian Wirtz, Dominic Szoboszlai as like, almost like 2 10s behind them. Your fullbacks offering you the width, backed up by your 2 6s. Is that the way this is going to try? This is almost going to evolve, because at times it was a 4-3-3 with a false 9. Other times it was a 4-2-4. And then, I mean, the only thing that we never really found last night was, what does that look like when we're under pressure?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess could you argue that we've seen something similar a few times? And I think that's what Arne Slot was arguing in that interview, where he was saying, you've seen that at Frankfurt, you've seen it at Inter Milan. It seems like, and I don't know if this is just the way the dates have fallen and the way that the injuries have fallen, or if it's something that he just is reserving for European competition. I don't know how that, I mean, I guess you were saying yourself that Palace was close. Do you think that kind of lineup works against most of the Premier League teams? Because I'd argue, I wish we had set up that way against Spurs because of the way that Spurs played. But he feels a lot more willing to play that way in Europe. But I don't know if he feels like he can trust that in the Premier League. And I almost would rather, if that's the long-term plan, I would almost have him just go for it with that in the Premier League. I don't know if that's just naivety of me, but I think it actually secures a lot of problems. I think, whether it's Jones in there or whether it's the midfield that we saw last night, I think it protects those center backs a lot more than we even notice. I think that it allows the fullbacks to just do their natural thing, and it allows the team to play in a way that still feels like it's within their DNA. And I feel like we've been fighting that with some of the, I don't know, kind of finagled little teams that he's put together, and the way that he's asked those teams to play, it just doesn't suit the Liverpool DNA. This does.
Yeah. I think having fit bodies is massive.
Absolutely.
Having Frimpong is vital. I don't think you could do what we did last night if Joe Gomez was playing at right back.
No.
Because I just don't think Joe Gomez can do that. And that's not his fault. It's just I don't think he can do that. But if everyone if players that are available to you, like last night, are available to you, this is a credible option. The difference, I think, in the Premier League as opposed to Europe, we saw it last night. Galatasaray were very reluctant to go long, especially after the Osimhen injury, because they had no way of holding the ball up. Premier League sides in general do have the ability to go long and go direct and hurt you with either a target man or with wingers who are used to playing that way, that ball in over the top. Galatasaray is not really that. And the thing is, I suppose in Europe, especially in the Champions League, you do come up against more footballing sides. And it's not just Liverpool. There's been multiple interviews with players this season talking about the difference of playing in the Champions League as opposed to playing in the Premier League, where they're finding it almost easier in the league phase, especially playing in Europe, because of the style of football they're coming up against rather than the players they're coming up against. They can almost deal with the style better than they can when it comes to the Premier League. And we've seen it week in, week out, not just Liverpool games, but there isn't really that many hidings being handed out by anyone this season. It's very much a case of break us down if you can.
Everything's in the balance.
We can get at you. We have ways now of getting at you. Whereas before, sides, when they parked the bus, there wasn't too many sides that had ways out or patterns of play to get out. Palace used to. That's why Palace used to give Man City so many problems for years. They had pattern with the likes of Elise and Wilfred Zaha. They had players who could get you out. Now most sides in the Premier League do have that threat. Even Wolves with Mane and some of the technical players that they have in midfield, they have ways of passing through high presses. Whereas I suppose over the years they've evolved that and they've gotten much better at it and probably bought to it in some respects as a way to stay in the league. I don't know. I think that that performance last night, that lineup, that style of play can work, but you really have to be aggressive. You almost have to force them to play the ball that they don't want to play. Make them go long, but make them go long on your terms, not on theirs. And you have to win your duels in the middle of the park. Every game is won and lost in the middle. In midfield, always is. And that's where you gain control. And you saw it last night. I think we had something like 62, 63% possession.
Which is kind of low for our standards, to be honest.
It is because we went direct so often. But, I mean, I'm talking about meaningful possession now, not them having it in and around the back, looking to get out. We bossed that last night from start
absolutely.
to finish. Whereas if we were talking about possession and a month ago, we had 65% possession. But we did nothing with it.
Yeah.
Last night, there was method to the madness. And there was madness. It was fantastic to watch. And there's so many different varieties. Even the Galatasaray manager came out in an interview last night saying they never prepared for...
So we didn't expect it.
Yeah, they didn't expect it. And they probably didn't think we had it in us to do that. We didn't.
Oh, a lot. I was just going to say that. I think a lot of fans were starting to doubt that was in there. And I think, Kev, if I kind of was to distill a lot of the Liverpool fan media over maybe the last month or so, like everyone has been saying very similar things. It's like, what's our direction? Just give us a direction. Just point us toward the thing that we're supposed to be working toward so that, we at least see a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's when you get in a really deep, dark place as a fan, when you don't have hope, when you don't have the light at the end of the tunnel. And seeing us play this kind of like pointless possession, slow, meandering, low energy football. Like, I'm sure that in Slot's mind, I mean, he says he doesn't set them out to play that way, but I'm sure there's an element where, some of that is done for preservation's sake. Some of it is done because, they just don't have the energy or the fitness or the manpower to rotate properly. Like, I don't know if we are a fit enough team to play the way that we played last night. I don't think we have enough players to rotate. In an ideal world, if you can rotate both fullbacks and bring them on 60, which I think is the plan or was the plan.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, you could, rotate one or two of those midfielders off, bring one or two of those midfielders on. Like, I can understand where it's going, but last night was the first time I really saw a direction of travel. It was something where I'm like, okay, like I get it. I get why the players have been purchased to play this way, because so many times this year I feel like we've come on these shows and be like, well, why did we buy these players if we're going to play this like turgid shit kind of football? Like we didn't buy the players for it. We bought exciting technical players. Let them do their thing.
How many times have I said to you that Szoboszlai and Wirtz can't play in the same midfield? And they can't. If you're lining it up in a 4-3-3 with Florian Wirtz as your 10, they can't, because I think you're sacrificing too much from Dominic Szoboszlai to tell him to be a 6. But if you turn around and play a 4-2-2 or a variation of it, where he is as advanced, maybe slightly behind a Florian Wirtz, with 2 6s behind him, and you're playing 2 forwards, be that 1 wide forward and 1 centre forward, then you can. And then you can get the best out of both. And we haven't been able to see that till now, really. I mean, I think we could have seen it before, but I think he was probably wedded to the idea of trying to play Cody Gakpo into some kind of form where he was last year and the year before. Last night he's 1 goal off 50 for Liverpool.
Gakpo?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So it's when he came on, that was the first thing the commentator said, because they were talking about Mo scoring 50 in the Champions League over his time at Liverpool. And by the way, Cody Gakpo has 1 goal off 50 for Liverpool as well. And I'm convinced he believes there's a player in Cody Gakpo, and there is. He's having a bad season. Seen plenty of players have bad seasons and bounce back. But at the same time, when your only other option on the left is Rio, and every time you've tried Florian Wirtz in that similar role, it hasn't worked.
Yeah, he's not a left winger.
No, but he can play a left-sided 10.
Mm-hmm.
And Szoboszlai has the football intelligence to play the right-sided 10. And we saw last night, if Frimpong is your wide player on the touchline, Salah can play between the edge of the box and the penalty spot, linking the triangle between the three. It's just a case, how often can we get that core of probably 13, 14 players on the pitch that are able to do this on the pitch for long enough between now and the end of the season?
Well, yeah,
last night took its toll on Salah already.
Yeah, but like we'll get to lineups in a moment,
yeah,
and get to Brighton in a moment. But there's a couple key ingredients from the performance that I think I just think that we can't walk away from now that we've seen them. Now that we've seen the way it works. And obviously this is injury, you have to have the right players to do it. I think you have to have Frimpong. You have to have either Kirkes or Robbo. I really liked Kirkes the other night. But, you're talking about Gakpo there. And let me ask you a question, because in the last couple of games with Hugo Ekitike kind of out and being rested strategically, we've seen Gakpo playing more central. And he's done that before. He did it with Klopp for a while. And then when Slot came in, he was like, no, you're going to be a left winger. I would argue, though, in the last couple of games, we've seen a much better version of Cody Gakpo than what we've seen on the wing. And if Mo Salah is out, I'm not 100% sure if Ekitike can play off the right. But I would do the same thing and move Cody Gakpo into that central role and just kind of keep the system. I want to see Szoboszlai in midfield. And that's the other key piece of this, because I think that Szoboszlai and Florian Wirtz together are so they're such a powerful combo, and they are like a yin and a yang, but they are both high octane yin and yang. It's not like they're slow at all. And it allows there to be protection behind them. It takes the pressure off McAllister doing sort of that lone role when he's working with a Gravenberch. It really brings out the best in all four of them. That's my way forward. So, whether it's Gakpo, whether it's Mo, whether it's Ekitike, rotating between those three, but having them in those two.
I think that's what impressed me more than anything last night was the fluidity. And it wasn't coming from the sideline. That was the most animated I've seen Arne Slot on the side on the touchline ever.
I loved it.
And I think he was animated because he was finally seeing what they've wanted, what his vision, what he envisaged, the potential in this squad, and he saw it unfold last night. And you could see the animation coming from him and the excitement coming from him, but the fluidity came from the players. Hugo went out on the left wing for probably a 5-minute spell. Flo just naturally went into that false 9 role and was supplemented by McAllister and Szoboszlai and it was literally like watching us under Klopp with a false 9, 4-3-3. And Mo just did what he normally does and tucked inside. So the question has to be then, are the players going to have this freedom to be inventive when there's a threat going the other way? Because last night there was no threat.
Yeah.
I watched something it was actually Wayne Rooney talking about it when he was at Manchester United. And he was talking about a fluid front three when it was him, Ronaldo, and Tevez. And all he said was, when the play broke down, if he was on the left wing, you run straight back. Wherever you are in in that front three, whatever position you're in when the ball breaks down, you defend that position straight back. And it'll be interesting to see. I hope he sticks with it. Irrespective of whether Salah's available or not, because he has options to be able to play Cody and Hugo as a front two-ish, almost.
Yeah.
And we saw Cody actually come off the bench and play on the right in a couple of games this season, and he looks comfortable enough at it. So I don't mind him being used as like a right forward if Hugo is your striker. And see how it works out. The thing is, it's not alien for him to be playing with Frimpong on the wing either. So it's not like they won't have a communication problem or a playing problem. They've played with each other for years.
And he is like that sort of Dutch total footballer where they are comfortable. I think with that, and I think Matt and Gav touched on it last night, where it was how do you kind of do the least tinkering possible each game to kind of keep this structure? Like if this is the way forward, give or take a little bit of strategic changes for specific teams. But how do you keep a structure like this? Because my biggest fear is you see something like this and then you see Arne Slot go this weekend and be like, well, Mo Salah's out, so we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to another system. We're gonna go back to putting Cody Gakpo in the left wing. We're gonna try a midfield of Florian Wirtz and McAllister and Gravenberch again. We're gonna put Szoboszlai over at right back and try Frimpong at right wing because we've seen it before. And I feel logically, I know why Arne Slot would make that argument because the puzzle pieces fit together in that way, but I would rather one player be minorly inconvenienced in Cody Gakpo and have the rest of the team really suit the team than trying to kind of fit it all together so that Cody Gakpo can fit in his rightful role, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And there's a strong argument to just play two up top because you're almost saying to the rest of the squad, we're playing two up front. We're trusting the rest of you to be able to defend.
Yeah. And
maybe they'll grow with the responsibility of having that. The thing is, you go back to the FA Cup game. We won 3-0. Salah was brilliant. And he was brilliant because Brighton left back on the day, and he'll probably catch Noglu, I think. I butchered his name, but he's going to be their left back again. And I nearly said Chris to be faster. He's just got no pace whatsoever. So if he starts on that side, the temptation has to be to get Frimpong as high up the pitch as possible and just roast him. But if you're going to do that, have two strikers in the middle. Even if it's one up and one off, even if at times Florian Wirtz plays as a false nine to Gakpo and Hugo and Cody interchange between who goes left, who stays in the middle. Keep them guessing. Keep players. Just keep the movement. I think you have to keep the spine together. The spine of the side is key. So your two centre backs, your two in front of them,
and the two in front of them as well.
Yeah.
Almost like the 2-2-2.
Yeah,
needs to be stable.
And the thing is, by the looks of it, they can be, because it's the one thing last night that we didn't do was a lot of off the ball running in a defensive way, chasing the ball, where that it'll tire you out. I'd imagine they all come off that game last night bouncing. And
the adrenaline will be through the roof.
Yeah, and they'd have probably gone into training today with a skip in a step, saying, "Come on, we can do that again." Mm-hmm. And you hope that they're. The thing is, he's running out of time. And
is it 8 games left? I think it's 8.
Yeah,
is it 7 or 8?
I'll tell you in a second.
Some teams it's 7. I think some teams it's 8, or some teams it's 8 and some teams it's 9.
But whatever it is, it's not many. And the thing is, it's a quick turnaround, which is a good and a bad thing. But the good thing about it is you can get your 3 points tomorrow, and you've done all you can. You can sit back, and it's up to the rest of the sides that are around you to match you.
Yeah, and we haven't been able to ride a wave in a little while. Like
Yeah.
we haven't been able to ride a high, like a true high. Yeah, like the other thing I want to mention before we actually move on to the tactics of Brighton is kind of the outside of the actual structure of the lineup is the identity of the team as they played in that lineup. And it falls back to the structure being correct for a high press. It falls back on the structure being correct for sort of these careful little triangle interplays. It falls back on the right players kind of being around the other right players on the team and them working together, and having a knowledge behind it. And when shit hits the fan and you do have to fall back on muscle memory, this lineup or this style of play or this approach feels like it's ingrained in this Liverpool team. They know how to high press. They know how to quick transition. They know how to kind of break down the wings and cross the ball across the 6-yard line to a strike. Like those are the things that Jurgen Klopp instilled in this team. And they are there in the back of their minds when all else fails and when shit hits the fan and they feel like they're down. Let the team fall back on what is kind of ingrained in their mind. Let them do what they do best rather than asking them to do something completely new and different. And granted, maybe that doesn't look on paper like the most defensive thing to do or the most stable thing to do. But I feel like we've seen enough times like what this looks like, trying to kind of, I don't want to say teach old dogs new tricks, but because they're not old by any means, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like you're trying to kind of take these players from something that's familiar, place them in something that maybe is arguably on paper more stable, but it's unfamiliar. And when you are doubting yourself, when your back is against the wall, those things don't come naturally. Whereas what we saw last night, I feel like does come naturally.
It does. How many times last night did you see Frimpong get wide and get a cross in when he was cutting it back to the penalty spot, screaming out for someone to drop, one of the two forwards to drop back? And I think that comes with the more time they spend on the pitch, the people will start to realize, okay, if he's in this position, he's going to look to either dink it to the far post or he's going to cut it back to the penalty spot. So whoever is close to the near post, drop off. Whoever is on the spin, go to the back stick. And that's going to come with time and understanding. I'd rather play like we played. I'd rather set up and try to play like we played last night and lose. Because I think...
You see the effort.
But I think in the long run, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
That's the style of football in the long run that will pay dividends. And you saw it with Klopp in his first season. It was run. No matter what, you're going to run more than anyone else. You're going to see effort, you're going to see explosiveness, and you're going to see effort. We haven't seen that for a large part of the season. Understandably, for a lot of players, betting into a new system, betting into a new club and a new league and all the things that come with this season, the way it's been going with injuries and everything else. So grounding something when players aren't around to be able to play in it has been difficult. I think he's got the opportunity now. Brighton coming up away, international break, come back and just hit the end of the season, play like this. Play that system, play a variation of it, depending on who's available, but play with that intensity between now and the end of the season, see where it takes us. No, I said to you guys last night, PSG are favourites.
Of course they are.
But I think they're favourites for the Champions League outright. I think they're probably the best side in it.
Yeah. I mean, I think,
if we could turn them over, the whole competition opens up for us. Because there's no side in this competition that I'd fear. PSG, their style of play, the way their fluidity scares the shit out of me. But I think in the long run, that's where this squad is, hopefully, with the summer that we could have, that's where this squad is going to be aiming for. And I'd rather watch a side play like that than try to win corners and try to win set pieces. I just think the way...
I don't want to be Arsenal light just because Arsenal
it's successful. No.
I don't want to do that. And Ozkop puts in this point, and I want to address it because I think it's a really good point. He says, well, I understand the argument. If the club are moving in another direction post-Klopp, we have to do it at some point, right? Always defaulting back to Klopp's way won't help us long-term, will it? I completely agree, Ozkop, but I don't think that's what we saw last night. I don't think that was Klopp's way. I think you were using sort of foundational tools that Klopp put in place, like the high press, like the quick transitions. But you were seeing Arne Slot's spin on it. Like, Jurgen Klopp never played a 4-2-2-2. At least not that I remember. We saw a false nine in Bobby Firmino, of course. We saw a false nine even with Diaz under Klopp. But Slot has come out and quite openly said that he wants to play attacking football. He's also quite openly said that he lauds Klopp and Pep Guardiola equally, and that he would love to have a hybrid of the two systems. So I don't think that we are really diverting that far away from what Slot has always wanted to do. Like, he's played this multiple times. He's just not had the players to do it regularly. And the argument again is whether or not it will work in the Premier League long term against kind of the shitball tactics. That I understand, and it's a real argument to have. But I don't think that we're going back to Klopp's ways. Like, I don't want to go back specifically to Jurgen Klopp's style of play. I just want to basically keep in mind that these players have a certain DNA. They have been training like this for 10 plus years, and it's kind of like when you looked at Nottingham Forest and they were playing a certain way with Nuno, and then they all of a sudden decided to bring in Ange Postecoglou. And they were like, we're just going to go in a different direction. And you have all these players that are trained to play a certain way, and then you tell them to do the complete opposite, and they just can't hit the ground running. It just makes the gears grind. And I feel like that's what we're seeing. Like, we're seeing high press, high intensity players being put into a system that makes the gears grind.
One thing I would say, Klopp's football evolved as the squad improved. It was helter-skelter, then it went to controlled aggression, and by the end, it was like a symphony. It was like fine wine, and it just worked. But it was built on an engine room in midfield. It was built on high industry, high work rate, and if you're not willing to run, you're not going to play. I mean, he famously said in a lot of interviews, the only player in world football who doesn't have to run is Leo Messi. Everyone else has to run, including Mo Salah. And I think if you can see us evolve, I want to see us evolve into a footballing side that plays attacking football, that risks losing, trying to win. And is it going to work all the time? No. But at least I want to watch us. I don't want to watch this. I don't want to watch what happened. I, for my sins, had to go and re-watch the Spurs game, knowing the result.
I'm so sorry.
And it was painful.
I don't know why you did that.
Because all of the text messages that you guys were talking about while I was in work made total sense when I watched it. But I don't want to watch that. And I think
can you just take us into your mind, like rewatching that, just really quickly for like.
Yeah, it was just like I was watching it with my head in my hands, like, why are you doing this? And it was like, why is there so much space in the middle of the park? Why are you letting Spurs pass through you? Why are you not pressing with 5 or 6 players? It's like you're pressing with 3, you're chasing shadows. I said it to you before we come on air. Spurs got a point against us, and then they turn around and beat Atletico Madrid. All right? And it's amazing what Spurs can do when they keep 11 players on the pitch and they get rid of the crazy. They do have forward players that can hurt you. They do have technically good footballers. And they got rid of the lunatics. They got the lunatics out of the back four.
I mean, they didn't do it on purpose. They got banned.
I know, but sometimes shit happens, and you're like, oh, that's
Silver
a great
lining.
keeping 11 players on the pitch. Who would have thought that could be a good way forward for us? We'll see what Spurs do between now and the end of the season. But I watched it back, and I was like, you cannot revert back to this.
Yes.
You can't. And that's what everyone was worried about going into last night. And I watched the preview shows, and I read the comments, and everyone they were all saying Galatasaray with Victor Osimhen. I was saying it, Victor Osimhen with Galatasaray, they have got a real chance coming to Anfield. But you saw what this squad, that 11 is capable of doing. And it's getting written off now as Galatasaray are rubbish. Galatasaray.
Sorry, this made me laugh. Davey says Kev also watched the Spurs game on rerun while standing on Lego barefooted.
It was it felt like that. Emotionally, it kind of felt like. I'll tell you what, if you have kids and you walk out of your bedroom and the kids are playing with Lego on the landing and you're trying to be very quiet, going to the bathroom, and you step on one and you can't scream, but you desperately wanted to. That's what it was like.
That's what, yeah.
That's what it felt
for
like.
A full 90 minutes.
It was kind of like
the sharpest piece when Richarlison scored.
It was that episode of The Simpsons with SpongeBob or with Sideshow Bob and the Rakes.
Jeez.
It was that. It was literally every time you turned, it was boom, straight in your face, boom, straight in your face. That's what it felt like. But last night was the polar opposite, and I want to watch that.
Yeah,
I'd rather lose.
It's the Jekyll and Hyde of Liverpool this year.
That's why I said I'd rather lose watching that, because I think there's method to that madness.
Mm-hmm.
That can get you somewhere. What we were doing against Spurs and what we've been doing in large parts of the season gets you where we are. 6th, 5th. We might qualify for the Champions League, and we hope to do something. Maybe one day, if we're lucky, we might get a cup run. You do what we did last night, you'll challenge for titles.
You give yourself a real chance, a real fighting chance.
And the other side of it is you give yourself the ability to sign players who will look at that. And I'm convinced Jurgen Klopp had this. When players watched his side, they wanted to play that in that squad. They wanted to play that type of football. It's
exciting. It's swashbuckling.
Yeah, exactly. Players want to be associated with that. It makes your life a lot easier if you can turn around to a player in the summer and say, look, we did this for the last third of the season. This is what we want to bring you in for, so you can help us evolve into a better version of that style of football. It's an easier sell than, this is the game against Spurs, we'll press play, and please sign, please sign, please sign, please sign. And, if we throw enough money at you, will you sign? Rather than you get the buy-in from the off. And I think it's easier. It's an easier sell. And it's an easier sell to the fans. If the fans see us...
Is it ever?
But if the fans see us trying to play that style of football, they'll buy in. They'll give you time.
Well, let me give you an example. So I don't think this was a million miles away from the way that we set up against Arsenal away. I don't think it was a million miles away. And we didn't score in that game. But we all came out of that game bouncing. So the effort was there. The intent was there. The passion was there. So I think a lot of people are saying kind of like, oh, well, it's easy to say. We scored 4 goals. You're going to love the way we played. No, because we've seen this in games where we haven't scored 4 goals, and yet we're still excited about that way of playing. Yeah. And that, I think, is the key, where it's like, that's an identity. That's something that fans can hang their hat on and be like, well, that's what we're working toward. That's the slot identity. And so, I just said this, 10 minutes ago, for so long, we have just been looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. We've been looking for a direction of travel. And it doesn't have to have lots of goals. I would love for it to have lots of goals at the end of it. Obviously, don't get me wrong, but
I just want to have loads of attempts.
I want to look like the players are having fun and the manager is passionate. Like, I loved that because Kev, like, we were talking a couple days ago about interim managers. It was not a long time ago, and the conversation's still out there. But when people were talking about interim managers, they were like, we just need someone to show a little bit of passion. We just need someone to give these players a little bit of a boost. We just need someone that's going to take the leash off the Liverpool players. That's what we saw last night. So, I'm not saying that Slot has saved his job or anything like that. I'm not going there, but he could if he gets this style of play working.
Yeah, I think. Look, the key. We're 40 minutes in. We'll talk about.
Yeah,
Brighton.
I know. Well, I'm sorry.
We'll talk about the thing is we can talk.
I think it's a good conversation.
And we can talk about Brighton now with that because everything is dependent on the personnel that are going to be available. Now, look, Salah comes off injured. I'm not banking on Mo Salah playing.
I don't think so. I think apparently he felt something. It wasn't really disclosed, but it looked like he was holding like his inner thigh. Yeah. So groin, thigh, hamstring, not quite sure.
But Mo does pick up little niggles, and he's
had a hamstring injury in the past, and those are usually recurring.
Exactly, but he's experienced enough to stop. Mm-hmm. And he did last night. He stopped. He felt it. He stopped. Come off straight away, straight down the tunnel. So it wasn't a case of he's making it up. So odds are he's not going to be available. The hope is Curtis Jones coming on for Frimpong early means that Frimpong will be available. Two centre-backs are two centre-backs. They're going to start. That's no question. Alisson's going to start. That's no question.
Kirk has had plenty of rest leading up to this game, so I'd expect him to start as well.
And I would too. I think the two in midfield are going to stay the same. It's literally one last push now. Apparently, the Argentina-Spain game that was due to be taking place in Qatar is cancelled and hasn't been rearranged. So I don't know if McAllister has any games.
It's not going to get rearranged. I think that was cancelled formally. Yeah.
So I don't think Argentina have arranged anything else. So it might just be a training session.
That's fantastic if McAllister's not flying to Bolivia.
Yeah. The Netherlands are going to be. I think they're already qualified, so it'll be just friendlies for them.
Okay. I know Ekitike and Kanate both got called up for France.
They'll both go because they'll be desperate to get into that France squad. It's not a given by any stretch that Kanate or Hugo go to the World Cup.
Yeah, they'll want to fight for their place.
Yeah, exactly. So they're going to go. But I think that from the 11 that started last night, Salah probably misses out. Gakpo probably comes in. Whether it's on that side or whatever, I wouldn't be envisaging any other changes.
Yeah.
And I think Brighton, then there's a good chance James Milner starts.
Yeah, so there's a chance that James Milner starts because I think Baleba is an iffy. He's iffy. It's an undisclosed injury and they're not quite sure. They have him listed as probably starting, but if it's not Baleba, then it would be James Milner.
See, the thing is, I think it coincides with their upturn. Milner's been more involved. He's been playing more, and he's been starting more. So it wouldn't surprise me if the two in midfield, Pascal Gross and James Milner as a midfield too, plenty of experience, plenty of it.
It might be. I'm thinking it might be a Yari.
Well, the option they have is they've been playing
like Ayari, Baleba, and Gomez. I think is sort of.
Yeah, let me just see what football we're going with, just out of curiosity, because they've generally not been too bad. Yeah, they've
Pascal
been playing
Gross. So I'm thinking Verbruggen, Wiever, Dunk, Van Hecke, Kadioglu, Ayari. Baleba's the iffy one, so that could be Milner. Gomez, Gross, Minta, Welbeck. I messed that up in terms of who was playing in midfield because they weren't lined up appropriately.
Well, I think for Brighton it'll more likely be a 4-3-3. Hinchelwood is one that could start as well. I'm just looking through their injuries. Matoma is a doubt.
Matoma's a doubt.
Timus, he is out.
Simas and Webster are out. They're both long-term knee injuries. So, Matoma's his ankle.
Other than that, they've pretty much got a full strength squad. The only other thing is they're one of the few clubs in the Premier League at the minute that are in the no man's land. They're not going down. They're not going to get into Europe. So
they could get into Europe. They're not far away from Europe.
Let's have a look. At the minute they're sat on 40 points in 12th.
They're not that far away.
They're 5 points off Brentford in 7th. And after the results in Europe tonight with Villa.
So Villa go through and Forest go through. Did Palace go through too? I don't know about Palace. I wasn't watching Palace.
I'll tell you now. Yeah, they went through 2-1.
Okay. So that might guarantee 5th.
Yeah, I think it probably does.
With having, so that's what, 5 clubs from England that are going through. So that might just guarantee 5th. That's actually very, very good for us.
Yeah, it is. Look, I think that even the 2-0 that we played early in the season, Hugo scored in the first minute and he scored late on. Brighton had plenty of chances in that one.
And then we had the cup game, which was more recent, which was the 3-0.
The 3-0, and we were good in that. Salah was brilliant in that. But in the league game, Minter caused problems. They really should have got something out of that. They did. There was
a lot of chances right across the face of our goal. A lot.
But that's the risk and reward. And we know that going to Brighton are a good side at home. They can, and they're on a good run at the minute as well. They've beat Sunderland. They lost to Arsenal 1-0. Beat Forest, beat Brentford, and their last of the 5 games was the 3-0 loss to us. So since losing to us, they've won 3, lost 1. So it's not going to be easy, but it's a game that we have to win. You're running out of time now to be in the luxury. A draw away at Brighton is not the worst in the world. Can't be doing that now.
No, you can't.
Given the results that we've got in recent weeks,
we've thrown away chances.
Yeah,
and we don't have chances left. At this point in time, especially just given the May that we have coming up, where you do have Villa and Brentford and Manchester United, and I maybe. Is it Chelsea thrown in there as well? There might be a Chelsea thrown in there as well. It is a relentless May, and I don't want to go into that with our backs against the walls, especially if we are going for a European Cup. I mean, God only knows we have, weirder things have happened. Yeah. But, if you do get through PSG, you don't want to have players kind of picking and choosing. You don't want a situation where they're prioritizing one game over the other. And I think that's kind of the one thing, the one sort of mist hanging over the performance against Galatasaray, where I was kind of wondering, were players saving themselves for this because they know that this is one that they can still win. And I do feel like they left something in the tank in the Spurs game with an eye on Galatasaray, which is natural and it happens. Yeah. But at this point in time, Galatasaray is over. We need all eyes on Brighton. And this is no longer a luxury where we can, play at 60% to protect ourselves and things like that. I don't want to see. I don't want to see a game, especially given the fact that, there's an international break and things, you take it easy in your international break. But we have to get points on the board here. You have to see continuity from Galatasaray to this game. So let's just go through the lineup front to back just to kind of, we basically said it out loud, but nail it down. So we're thinking Alisson goes in goal. Yes. Kirkes, Virgil, Kanate, Frimpong. We think double 6 of McAllister, Gravenberch. Yeah. Double kind of 8/10 of Wirtz and Szoboszlai, and hopefully Gakpo and Ekitike up front.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, the only one you could probably bring into that would be Curtis Jones, possibly for McAllister. But even then,
I don't think he will.
No, I don't think he will either. Not with the likelihood that Frimpong can't do 90 yet. They're still managing him. They don't want a recurrence of a hamstring. Correct. So even going into an international break, they don't want to risk it. So, and you're better off not risking it. And the other side of it is, Hugo played a lot of minutes. You know,
I mean, he looked quite tired, quite early. You know, we don't have a ton of options. I guess in terms of what I don't want to see, and I said this earlier in the show, what I don't want to see is a back four of Robertson, Virgil, Konate, and Szoboszlai, with a midfield three of Wirtz, McAllister, and Gravenberch, with a front three of Gakpo, Ekitike, and Frimpong. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that revert just because certain players are missing, specifically Salah. Yeah. That is what I don't want to see. So
Real Talk makes the point here. Szoboszlai warned that the Brighton performance might not be the same. In fairness, I can understand that because Brighton are a different animal. They play a different type of football and they can hurt you in different ways, especially with someone as wily as Danny Welbeck up front, who knows how to play that lone man striker role really well, supported by the likes of Minter with pace. It's a different type of opponent, but they do like to play football. So the opportunities to press Brighton are going to be there. So I think if we have the right it's all
mindset,
down to mindset.
And application.
It's all down to mindset. If you have the right aggressive mindset, and bear in mind, you've beaten them twice this season already. So you're going into it confident, knowing what, there's no surprises in what they're going to do. Even with Galatasaray, we played Galatasaray twice, lost twice, but at their place. So the players kind of knew roughly what they were going to be coming up against. It's going to be very similar to what Brighton, in that way, they know what they're going to get against Brighton. Brighton haven't.
Yeah. They're not going to sit deep. They're going to try and play football.
Yeah.
They're a football playing side where they like to string passes together. Hopefully that will encourage, like I said, this particular lineup that we were looking at the other night. I think it suits it.
The other thing is Brighton have had a week to prepare.
Yes, and they haven't had a midweek game at all.
Yeah, that does make a difference, and they're at home. So don't be surprised if there are spells in this game where we don't have the ball, where we're going to have to defend.
Like it's a shit schedule. Like this was a shit scheduling by the Premier League.
This is
considering it's away to Brighton.
Yeah, this is the one that Klopp was at pains to point out, that Champions League Wednesday fixture, and you're getting the 12:45 kickoff on a Saturday.
Can you correct me if I'm wrong? Because I feel like there have been several times this year where we've had Wednesday kickoffs where the Saturday 12:45 has been moved to the later game.
To the 8th.
I feel like we've seen this several times this year because there has been very few 12:45 kickoffs this particular calendar year. And quite often that game has gotten moved. So I don't know why this has not been moved.
There is an 8 o'clock game tomorrow night, Leeds against Brentford. Neither of those sides were involved in Europe midweek.
So why would, obviously, like television will pick the team. I get it. I understand. Yeah. But logistically, those they should have switched.
It should have been switched, and I'm surprised that it hasn't been. It's one of the few times this season I think that we do have an early kickoff. We have an
early kickoff against City in the cup game coming up next.
Game, I think
but we haven't had many.
Yeah, the difference with the FA Cup this time around, all 4 games are played on the same day, and it's one after the other. So from a TV point of view, I can understand it. You want your big game first. So you get all of the audience in and you hook them in and you've got them then for the day. So it's just, and the thing is, off the back of an international break, it's going to be the same for both sides. And there's no real advantage to City or Liverpool in that respect because both squads are going to have almost everybody away.
No, it's just going to be shit for both of them. Let's talk really quick about the games that are sort of closest in the table are facing. So we have Everton and Chelsea. So that's an Everton home game. That's going to be on Saturday as well. Chelsea without a couple of players. We saw Reece James, surprise, surprise, going out with another hamstring injury. Water is
Crazy.
wet. Right after signing that 6-year deal, Kev, make
What
that make
was that?
sense, with
I
a rise in pay, even
I,
though he is the highest paid player at Chelsea.
I straight up thought they were talking about Lauren James.
Oh no, she got a new contract on the same day as her brother. They
Yeah.
did a whole thing.
Now, I can understand her getting a new deal. She is one of the best women footballers in the world.
Yep.
She is unbelievable. She's a brilliant player.
And Reece James is a brilliant player when he's fit, but he's not.
I was gobsmacked.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if Liverpool gave...
It's like giving Naby Keita a new contract, which is something that we were trying to do, which I know.
I love the bones of Daniel Sturridge, but it would be like giving Daniel Sturridge a 6-year deal on the back of his multiple injuries.
Yeah.
As much as you might love the player, you don't do that. But look, Chelsea are a whole show of its own, and I'm sure during the international break we'll get into the meat of Chelsea. But that game against Everton, on the back of the pressure that's on the manager already and the performance in the Champions League over the
sweeping
2 legs,
aside,
they were dusted. I mean, they were literally put in their place by.
I mean, they looked good for like the first 60 minutes of the first game.
Yeah.
I will give them credit for that, but it did just fall apart for them.
This is what I was saying about PSG last night when we were talking. They have the ability to take a 2-legged tie away from you in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's
which is why it was so impressive that we got to penalties with them.
That's how good they are. So they did that to Chelsea, because at 3-2, Chelsea were still in that tie. In Paris, 3-2, you're thinking, okay, who knows? You get to the second leg, anything can happen. And then they go bang, bang, and it's 5-2, and it's game over. And you wouldn't know what kind of mindset Chelsea are going to be in when they go to Goodison, or not Goodison, but when they go to Everton. And Everton
Hill Dickinson Stadium, I think.
Everton will fancy it. They've got nothing to lose. Plus, they're aiming for European football in their own right, and they're playing well. So I wouldn't be surprised if Everton got something out of that.
Okay.
I didn't realize that there was football tomorrow night. Bournemouth and Man United.
Oh, I didn't realize that either.
Yeah.
I guess you should get your FPL sorted out. So Bournemouth, Manchester United is tomorrow, and then the Sunday game for Villa is West Ham. Which, West Ham are fighting for something, and they have kind of found a little bit of a resurgence. I think they got the coach in at the right time to basically get a little bit of a running start, or at least like drill something into the players and then work with them. It wouldn't surprise me if West Ham survive because of that appointment.
Well, the thing is, the best thing that happened to West Ham was selling Paqueta, because as long as he was at the club, you were going to try and shoehorn him into a side, and he just never defensively worked. You're seeing a resurgence in Thomas Souček. If Thomas Souček was 23, I'd be desperate to sign him. He's been phenomenal for them over the last few games, and he's shown the player that he was going back 3-4 years ago when he was a menace in the box. He's everywhere on the pitch. He's aggressive, and he can do everything in the middle in midfield. And in Jarrett Bowen, you've got a goal threat, a live goal threat, and it looks like the striker that is signed. He's got a nasty streak in him, a really good, healthy, nasty streak in him that I like. Villa, they'll be buoyed by the results of that tonight, but in fairness, they won away at Michelin, and they've got a
Villa won at Lille.
Lille, sorry, yeah.
Forest was at Michelin.
That was Forest with Michelin, yeah.
Yeah, with
2-0
just
against
shit
Lille.
penalties from Michelin.
And I'm just looking at here now, McGinn and Bailey. And the thing is, the lineup that they went with wasn't exactly their strongest, but it was solid. They played with Onana and Douglas Luiz in the middle of the park. Sancho, Rogers, McGinn, and they played Tammy Abrahams up front.
Elliot got like his token 3 minutes at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Poor kid.
Yeah. I'm getting sick and tired of people blaming Liverpool for that.
Liverpool didn't do anything wrong. Exactly. Liverpool did everything in their power to facilitate a Villa move and to facilitate a PSR kind of diddle, for lack of a better term, for Villa. Like, that's what that was.
Yeah. That's going to be a really good game, actually, because you can make a case for both clubs. But I think Villa at home should have too much for West Ham.
Yeah, the final one that I want to touch on, because Davey's in the chat, is the
time where derby.
It's the big derby, which is Newcastle against Sunderland. So it's Newcastle at home. Davey's in the chat. He's going bold with a 3-0. He dare not lose. Look, Eddie Howe's job is teetering. He is currently walking the plank and approaching the edge of said plank.
They'll have too much. They'll have too much for Sunderland. Even in that Barcelona game, Barcelona took it away from them in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Newcastle,
as they can do against any team.
Newcastle were well in that game. They should have won the first leg. And they were well in that game.
The Trippier whole thing,
yeah,
just threw the balance.
Yeah,
completely.
And the thing is, the way I look at it, for 3/4 of that two-legged tie, Newcastle were well in it against one of the best sides in Europe, and Barcelona did what Barcelona do, and their quality showed out in the end. And look, they're just better.
But I don't think it was like, I don't think there's anything to hang their head in shame about. I think that, like, the fact that they made it through 3/4 of that tie head to head against Barcelona, arguably with several key players out. You know, like you had key players out. Tonali went off injured. You don't have Guimaraes. Like, there's so many key cogs in that system. Voltemata is not hitting the ground the way that he's either not being played where he should be played, in my opinion, or he's not hitting the ground the way that you want him to hit the ground. But considering all of that, you know, I don't think you walk away from that tie being like, we were terrible. We were just outclassed at one point.
Oh, they were outclassed in the second half. But I think the only thing I'd worry about from Newcastle point of view is how much did that physically take out of them? Because the one thing you can label and land at Eddie Howe's doorstep. You don't go to the new camp playing against Barcelona and playing man for man. Even Bielsa isn't that stupid. You don't go against one of the best passing sides in world football in a pitch that is one of the
enormous. It is enormous.
A huge pitch that they know every blade of grass on it, and you try to play man for man against, and that's why they came out in the second half. Barcelona tweaked it at halftime, and they just got players to run into areas that they didn't normally run into, and Newcastle were just going, hang on, you're not allowed to run there.
Poor Livramento was like, what am I doing? This wasn't the way you played.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a height of stupidity from Eddie Howe. And it's one that it got what it deserved. They got a hiding that they deserved because of the stupidity of the manager. And look, Davey's been on the Eddie Howe out train for a long time. He's been at that club a long time, and someone else mentioned it in the chat. He's done as well as he could possibly do at that club. Brought them to a level above where they were.
Oh, definitely. I mean, they were in or around relegation for years.
Yeah, won a trophy, and I think in the summer there'll be an amicable parting of the ways. But
I think Emery would be great for them. I think he'd be a perfect fit.
The last thing that I want to see happen to Newcastle, no offense, Davey, the last thing I really want to happen at Newcastle is for them to get a manager who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. I just think he'd be a perfect fit, like, to kind of keep them in and around, like, get them like a European trophy in terms of like a Europa League trophy. I think he could absolutely do that with Newcastle.
Yeah. Because I look at that squad. I think Hall is the best left back in the Premier League.
He's very good. He's definitely the best English left back.
I just think he's the best left back. Period in the
I
Premier
mean,
League.
I think Kirkes gives him a run for his money
No,
on a good day.
you-
On a good day.
No, he doesn't. Hall is a better defender, a much better defender. Kirkes might be better going the other way, but Hall is a much better defender. Ramsey, Willock, Murphy, all good players. Barnes, good player. That German centre back they brought in, Chow, he looks a good player.
He's decent. He's decent.
You know what I mean? They've got the nuts and bolts of a really good squad. That with the right manager and a couple of good signings, they could do bits. I really don't want Newcastle getting a sniff of regular Champions League football. Not with those owners. Not with what they could do.
There's rumors of maybe selling a couple key players like a Tonali or a Bruno Guimaraes, and I do feel like that. They might need to sell one, but
I think they need to do that to do the rebuild that they need to do. And they will. You look at Sunderland. Time Derby is fucking huge. The atmosphere in that game is going to be mental.
It'll be a good watch. I'm looking forward to that.
I work with Geordie as well, and he is like proper. The guy I work with, when I read Davy's comments, I hear this guy's voice. Because he's proper YA man.
Well, we appreciate Davy in the chat because it's fun. It's really fun to have fans of different channels in here.
It looks like Granit Xhaka is back for them,
which is big.
Massive.
That's massive.
Robbie up front. Rig looks a decent player. It's going to be a cracking game, and for different reasons. Sunderland have had a week to prepare. It's at St James's Park. I think Newcastle have enough to get a win, but it wouldn't surprise me if Sunderland pull one out either. It's one of them. It could go either way. I think if you're playing this 3 months ago, you go with Sunderland all the way. Sunderland now
they were riding a wave.
Yeah,
and honestly, I think we crashed that wave.
Yeah,
I think that when they lost at home, I think we crashed their wave. I'm going to come to match predictions in 1 second, Kev. The one last game that I want to talk about, which is a big one, is the Spurs game against Forest. Because you're talking about potentially a relegation battle there. You had Forest going through on penalties to Midtjylland. Midtjylland hit the post with their first 2 penalties, which basically just sent Forest through. I think they ended up going through just by scoring 3 penalties in general. Spurs got the bounce against us. Instead of a Dr. Tottenham, they got a Dr. Liverpool. And you saw that boost, like you mentioned earlier in the show, against Atletico. Just really quick, because we're kind of going on time here. How do you see this going? It is at home to Spurs, which I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse, because they have had a really toxic stadium. We talk about sort of the toxicity around Anfield. Spurs is a whole different level.
If they go behind in this for a sustained period of time, the place will implode.
Yes.
Now, look, football are lining them up in a 4-4-2. I think that's the way to go. I think for Spurs, that's the way to go. Play with Solanke and Richarlison up front. Xavi Simons on a wing looking to create. A back four, Porro, Danzo, Dagazin, Spence. They're capable. They should be capable. The thing is with Forest, Igor Jesus didn't start tonight.
No, he didn't, and I don't think he came. I don't know if he came on in extra time because I was busy doing other things.
Yeah, I didn't.
But Luka got the majority, the lion's share of that game. Yeah. He got over 90 minutes.
The thing is, I think Forest in midfield have the better players, as Sangare and Anderson.
Yeah.
As a midfield too, as opposed to Archie Gray and Sarr. I think
it's a flip, to be honest.
Yeah, I do. And I don't think it'll be a draw. I think there'll be a winner in it. And it wouldn't surprise me if Forest turn them over. And that place absolutely goes mental. It could happen. The thing is, West Ham kick off at the same time.
Yeah.
So it'll be all.
That's Sunday, a busy day. Sunday's a busy day when we get the Tyneside Derby. You got Villa, West Ham, and you got Spurs against Forest.
Well,
That's a busy day.
There's no 4:30 kickoff.
No, everything's over early. So
everything's over early. So it's going to be a mental Sunday afternoon, starting off at the time where Derby, finishing up with either Villa, West Ham, Spurs.
When's the what time does the cup game start? That starts at 12:30. So you've got Arsenal City, which we didn't even touch on, that's why there's no late game. That's why there's no late game.
Is the League Cup final this weekend?
Yes, there is.
I couldn't give a shit.
I mean,
if we're not involved in it, I don't care.
Because it's City, nobody really cares. But I just want to make sure we slide this in here. I don't want to.
What time does that kick off?
Well, it's 12:30 for me, so I guess that's 5:30 for you.
4:30.
4:30. Sorry.
4:30.
Yeah. Oh wait, no, you guys don't. The time difference is just fucks me up. Yeah. So there is that. And I just want to make sure that we mention it so that we don't sound totally oblivious because I almost forgot. Just again, real quick, which way are you going?
For the League Cup final?
Yeah, it's Arsenal against City.
Arsenal beat them. They're so defensively solid. And
City were poor.
Yeah, they were poor, but at the same time, I look at Arsenal against Leverkusen and two really good goals, but Leverkusen never really threatened Arsenal in any meaningful way.
Honestly, I didn't even watch that game. I didn't even watch it. It
was just one of those games where Arsenal kept them at hand's length all game long.
Yeah, if I don't have to watch Arsenal, I will not choose to watch Arsenal.
The two goals were good, and as a defensive performance, and I don't think it'll be much different against City. Arsenal it was just a masterclass in how to defend and how to defend in shape. And it's something you could always say, if you see this negative football that crept into the Premier League and it was always deemed that it was the bottom six clubs parking the bus and what have you. If you get a really, really good side to have that mindset and that buy-in, they're so fucking hard to break down. And that's the thing with Arsenal. That's why they're going to win the league. It's because defensive. It's not the set pieces.
Honestly, I don't even know if I can describe them as a really, really good team. I just feel like they have a system that's really, really drilled.
They're defensively brilliant.
Yes, I think they do have. I mean, they honestly have more defenders than anyone else in any other team in the league. And I just think they've been drilled in it for such a long time that it's
their mindset.
It works to their advantage. It was something was eventually going to fall for them. I would love to see what would happen if City won this just to shake their confidence, because I think that they're getting into that. We've seen it. We know what it feels like to get into the quadruple talk and you kind of feel like you're on top of the world and you're like, oh yeah, we can absolutely do this. If something shakes that confidence, you never know.
I think the biggest thing that could shake their confidence this season is going out in the Champions League. Yeah. Because with that side of the draw.
I'd love Sporting to kick them out. That'd be so fun.
That's what I mean. With that side of the draw, they have no excuse not to get to at least a semi-final and possibly a final.
And everyone's considering them favorites. You said PSG earlier, and I think that's the logical choice, but the media is saying Arsenal.
Yeah, I know, but it's mainly British-led, and it's the British media are always going to jump on the back of
because they want to see them fail.
They did it with us as well.
They want to see them fail.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're desperate for Arsenal to fail.
Oh, absolutely.
They're absolutely.
They would love it.
They're only keeping their headlines dry for Saka because you can see the headlines. Mo Salah's had his worst season as a Liverpool player, and he's shitting all over Saka.
Yeah,
and that's just the truth.
It's so sad the way that they do that to English players. It's
horrific.
Specific English players as well,
but they've always did it.
I know they have, and they do it here. They do it to certain players here. It's a universal thing. I hate the way they do it.
Yeah, as long as I can remember.
Build them up to tear them down.
Yeah, the England Italian 90 side. Bobby Robson was crucified by the British press up until 1990. Absolutely destroyed by the British press. It wasn't until he left the England job that they turned and loved it. It was cruel what the English press. It's cruel what the English press do to English players, and it's not just an English thing. The Irish press do it as well. The Americans do it with NFL, baseball,
they do
hockey,
it all the time.
basketball.
They do it all the time.
You know, it's universal.
It's why I think Kwanzaa made a really smart career move, actually, for his development to get out of the Premier League and go and develop.
And he was good.
I thought he was very good. I thought he was very, very good. And I think there is a world where where we do activate that buyback clause.
I think so.
I genuinely do. I think it's £35 million ish, give or take. It's still a year away.
Yeah,
for that to activate, but I think that there's a world where we do that.
From a business point of view, you bring him back, you keep him for a year, and you flip him for 50. He's also just really handy decision. Because he's homegrown. Oh, it's not just the homegrown. He can play right back. He can play centre back. He can play in a 3.
He is so again. I don't want to digress.
We're going to finish up.
I want to get to predictions and then head out. But if Joe Gomez stays for one more year, he is the Joe Gomez replacement.
Big time.
Just easy peasy, like all the same cards, just as flexible, English, whatever. But Kev, let's finish up with predictions. You know how it works. Give me the scoreline, give me the goal scorers, and then we'll head on out for the evening. Okay. And I'll read out some in the chat as well if you guys can throw them in quick.
I think Liverpool win 2-0. The Hugo scores. And I think Szoboszlai scores. I just think he's in such a rich he's in such a rich vein of form at the minute. And some of the confidence that he was hitting the ball with from outside the box last night, it was he's just in that groove that you often see players get into, that every time he gets forward he looks threatening. And whether it's him or whether it's he's involved in setting someone else up. I thought Florian Wirtz last night in the second half.
He looked much better.
It was ridiculously good. First half, he kept trying and trying and trying. It didn't come off. Some of his passes in that second half were an absolute joke. But yeah, I think Szoboszlai and Hugo hopefully can have a career with Liverpool where he sees the likes of Brighton coming like, yeah, I know you. You and me are close.
We're friends. We know how each other roll.
Yeah, exactly. I just hope that Hugo has that mentality and wants to bounce into that French squad, you know, with a goal in his back.
Same with I would love for Ekitike and Hugo to bounce into that. And going off of that, Davey T says 2-1 Ekitike and Konate. I would love for both of those players to get on the score sheet and bounce into that game. And I agree with Davey in that scoreline, and Oshin agrees as well. He says 2-1 Liverpool, Ekitike and Jones, Minta for Brighton. Davey says red card for Van Hecke. Real Talk says 1-1 Liverpool. I think all the Liverpool eggs are in the Champions League basket like 2005. Look, it's possible, but I'm going to go on positivity here. We haven't had positivity in a while, so I'm going to sign off with positivity, hoping that Liverpool beat Brighton and go bouncing into the international games this weekend. I think that's all for us here. Kev, is there anything else you want to say?
No. Definitely when the international break comes and hopefully I can get out free and come on, I want to talk about potential changes coming to VAR. I definitely want to get into the Chelsea stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll hopefully do that over the next week or so.
Yeah, there's going to be 2 good processes, I guess is the right word for it. There's going to be a domestic good process, and then there's going to be good process in the world. I'm traveling, so that's why I couldn't do it tonight. So we will have 2 good processes. One will be sort of covering the league games from this week, some of the Champions League games, and then the league games this weekend. And then we will do sort of all of the outrageous calls from around the world. And there are some that I have been saving up for that. So that's going to be how we fill some of our international break. And those are going to be over on our Patreon. So just a heads up, those will be next week. I will get you the dates once I kind of nail them down. But For now, I think that's it. We may be back with a random show tomorrow. I need to check with Emmett, but turn your notifications on. That would be on Patreon as well. And then we will be back on Saturday with our post-match, post-match, and the guys will be back on Sunday. So full kind of docket for the next couple of days. We will be with you as soon as we can. I think that's it. Nice to have a little bit of positivity, Kev.
Hey,
let's just bounce into the weekend. That's lovely. All right. Up the fucking Reds.
Woohoo. Good night, all.
Out of here.